The Challenger Deep. The Challenger Deep is the deepest place that exists on planet Earth. It sits at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, in the western Pacific, almost 7 miles straight down. If you dropped the tallest mountain on Earth into it, the peak would still be more than a mile underwater. Nothing about the human body is built to go there. The pressure at the bottom is over 1,000 times what you feel at the surface. It would press on you with the weight of dozens of jumbo jets. All at once. A person without protection would not drown. They would be crushed in an instant. Only a handful of people have ever reached it. The first was in 1960. 2 men sealed inside a steel sphere, sinking for nearly 5 hours into total black. It would be more than 50 years before anyone went back. When the cameras finally looked around down there, they found something no one wanted to see. A plastic bag, 7 miles down, at the lowest point on the planet, in a place almost no human has ever been. Our garbage had already arrived. It gets worse. Scientists pulled up small shrimp-like creatures from the trench, animals that have lived in that darkness for millions of years. Inside their bodies, they found plastic. There is nowhere left on Earth we have not touched. And life is down there. Strange, pale things drift across the floor. Giant single cells the size of your hand. Creatures with no eyes, because there has never been anything to see. The deepest place on Earth should be empty. It isn't. Something is always waiting at the bottom. The Dragon Hole. The Dragon Hole is the deepest known blue hole in the world. And the water at the bottom is dead. A blue hole is a flooded sinkhole in the seafloor. A near-perfect circle of darkness punched into bright shallow water. From above they look like a pupil staring up out of the ocean. The Dragon Hole, in the South China Sea, drops more than 1,000 feet straight down. For most of its depth, there is no oxygen at all. Below a certain line, nothing breathes, nothing swims. The water there has sat still and lifeless for longer than anyone can say. A column of black, suffocating stillness with the living reef floating right on top of it. Divers are drawn to places like this, and places like this take divers. In the famous Blue Hole off Belize, explorers who reached the bottom found the remains of others who had gone down before them and never come up. The danger is a trick of the mind. The water is so clear and the walls so beautiful that a diver keeps going just a little deeper. And a little deeper, until the depth itself begins to poison their thinking. They grow calm, careless. Some have been found having taken their own gear off, as if the hole had whispered something to them. There are no currents to fight and no monster to flee. There is only down, and down has no bottom you can see until you have already gone too far. A blue hole does not chase you. It simply waits, perfectly still, for you to swim into it on your own. The Midnight Zone. The Midnight Zone is the largest living space on Earth, and no sunlight has ever reached it. It begins about half a mile down and runs for miles below that. Above it, the ocean still glows a faint blue. Cross into the Midnight Zone and that last light dies. From here to the floor, it is total, permanent black. This is not some small forgotten corner. By volume, it is the biggest habitat on the planet. Bigger than every forest, desert, and plain on the surface combined. And we have explored almost none of it. We have better maps of Mars than of this place on our own world. The animals that live here have given up on light entirely. Many are pitch black or blood red, colors that vanish completely in the dark. Their eyes are huge, straining to catch a single stray glow. Some have stopped bothering with eyes at all. To find each other in endless night, they had to make their own light. A glow on a hook to lure prey closer. A flash to find a mate. A burst of living fire thrown out like ink to blind a hunter. Down here, light is a weapon and a trap, never a comfort. The hunters are nightmares built for ambush. Jaws that unhinge, teeth so long the mouth cannot close. Bodies that are mostly stomach, able to swallow something larger than themselves whole. We send a camera down, and pale shapes drift past the lens and vanish before we can name them. Almost every deep expedition finds creatures science has never recorded. The largest living world on Earth sits right beneath us, in the dark, and we are still strangers in it. The Black Smokers. The Black Smokers are chimneys on the ocean floor where life broke every rule we thought it had to follow. For all of history, we believed one thing about life. Everything, in the end, runs on sunlight. Plants drink the sun, animals eat the plants, and the whole living world is powered from the sky. Then, in 1977, a small submarine dropped to the floor near the Galapagos and found a world that had never seen the sun and did not care. Cracks in the seafloor were pouring out water hot enough to melt the deck of a ship, kept from boiling only by the crushing pressure. As it hit the freezing sea, it turned black, building tall mineral chimneys that smoke like factories in the dark. This should be a dead zone. Boiling, toxic, lightless, drenched in chemicals that would kill almost anything. Instead, it is crowded with life. Giant worms taller than a person sway around the vents in white tubes tipped with red. They have no mouth, no stomach, they never eat. Inside their bodies live billions of bacteria that feed on the poison gas pouring from the earth, and the worm simply lives on what they make. An entire kingdom of creatures down there runs not on sunlight, but on the raw chemistry of the planet itself. When the sun finally dies, this is one of the few places life on Earth might quietly carry on. And it changed a much bigger question. If life can thrive in boiling poison in total darkness here, then the dark oceans under the ice of distant moons may not be empty at all. We went looking at the bottom of our own sea, and found a clue about life across the universe. The JACUZZI of despair. The JACUZZI of despair is a lake at the bottom of the sea, and almost nothing that enters it comes out alive. That sentence should not make sense. A lake, underwater, beneath thousands of feet of ocean. But it is real. In the Gulf of Mexico there are pools of water so heavy with salt that they do not mix with the sea around them. They sink, and pool, and form their own shoreline on the ocean floor, with waves and a surface, like a pond resting at the bottom of the world. This particular one was found in 2014, and the scientists who saw it gave it that name for a reason. The water inside is several times saltier than the sea, laced with poisonous gas. Anything that swims into it dies. And so the pool is ringed with the dead. Crabs that wandered in lie pickled at the bottom, perfectly preserved, sometimes for years. The extreme salt keeps their bodies from rotting away. The shoreline is a graveyard of animals that crawled down for a closer look and never crawled back. Around the very edge, though, life clings on. Mussels live right at the lethal border, fed by bacteria that thrive on the gas. They sit at the rim of a death they cannot cross, in the only place they can survive. Submarines that dive into the pool feel their own machines start to bob, because even a sealed metal vehicle floats higher in water this dense. It is a perfect, quiet trap. No teeth, no chase, just a still, shimmering pool, waiting at the bottom of a place that is already at the bottom of everything. The bloop. The bloop is the loudest mystery sound the ocean has ever made. And for years no one could explain it. In 1997, listening stations spread across the Pacific picked up a noise. Not a quiet one. It was so powerful that microphones thousands of miles apart, whole oceans apart, all heard the same sound at once. Nothing known to be living in the sea could be that loud. It rose and fell in a strange, organic way. It almost sounded alive. And because it came from the cold, empty water off the coast of Antarctica, far from any shipping lane, people began to wonder what could possibly be down there making it. For years, the honest answer from scientists was simple. They did not know. The sound got a name, the bloop, and a reputation. If something living had made it, that thing would have to be far larger than any animal we have ever found. Larger even than the blue whale. Eventually researchers offered an explanation. They now believe it was the sound of an enormous iceberg cracking and grinding apart as it broke away from Antarctica. A groan of ice large enough to shake the whole ocean. For most people, that solved it. But the bloop was only one voice. The deep is full of recorded sounds we still have not matched to anything for certain. Long, slow moans, strange upsweeps that repeat for years and then stop. A rhythmic quacking no one has fully traced to its source. The ocean is loud, down where we cannot see. Most of what it says, we have learned to explain. Some of it, we are still only guessing at, and we are listening to a place we have barely begun to map. Point Nemo. Point Nemo is the single most remote place in all the world's oceans. The farthest you can possibly get from any land. Stand at Point Nemo. and the nearest dry ground is more than 1,000 miles away in every direction. There is no island to swim to, no coast on the horizon, just open water curving away on all sides, deeper than you can imagine, in every direction at once. It is so far from everything that the closest human beings are often not on the Earth at all. When the space station passes overhead, the astronauts orbiting hundreds of miles up are sometimes nearer to you than anyone on the planet's surface. Because no one lives anywhere near it, the world shows this spot to be a graveyard. When old spacecraft are brought down from orbit, this is where they're aimed. Dead satellites, burnt-out cargo ships, worn-out space stations, they fall from the sky and sink into the water here. A scattered cemetery of machines resting in the dark below. The water around it is strangely empty even of life. Far from any coast, with little drifting in to feed on. It is one of the most barren patches of ocean on Earth. A vast blue desert of near silence. And there is one last coincidence the internet has never let go of. Long before anyone had calculated this point, a writer placed a sunken, sleeping horror in the Pacific. A dead city waiting beneath the waves. The spot he invented sits remarkably close to Point Nemo. It is almost certainly chance. But it is a strange thing to know, that the loneliest place on our planet is also the place we send our dead machines to fall. While something imagined long ago is said to sleep just below. The ocean keeps its biggest secrets where no one can reach them. And the farthest, quietest, most forgotten water on Earth is the one place we have agreed never to go.